Are you Tutsi or Hutu? One of the most frequent questions that Rwandans are asked when they are abroad and in foreign nations by curious people, once one is known to be known as a Rwandan, is are you Tutsi or Hutu? It is a difficult question and not as simple as some may think, as some have been falsely taught that Tutsi and Hutu are Rwandan ethnic groups. Speaking to an author of the book Ukuri Nyakuri k'Ubumwe n'Ubwiyunge bw'Abanyarwanda, translated as The Real Truth of Rwandan Unity and Reconciliation by Mr. Kayumba Isidore, he commented, as he has also written in his book in the Rwandan language, that a Tutsi or Hutu was not born as a Hutu or Tutsi, but that Rwandans could interchange from the one into the other based on the circumstance or on what one has done. The administration of the kingdom had a role in who would be what on the part of being Tutsi, also basing on the capacity in certain activities. The book is currently in the process of translation for English readers. The presumptions of many that Tutsi and Hutu are Rwandan or Central East African ethnic groups are the cause of much false propaganda, especially from misdirected writers and outdated documentations which served falsehood rather than the honest truth. As Mr. Kayumba has written, and among others, Tutsi and Hutu are not ethnic groups. Can a South African Zulu change from being a Zulu into Xhosa under any circumstance? In truth, Zulu and Xhosa people have different languages and customs, cultures that render them truly as ethnic groups according to the conventional definition of ethnicity. But Tutsi and Hutu have the same language and culture. In 1926, during the reign of King Musinga Yuhida V, the Belgian colonial administration, together with the Catholic Church, began to enforce Rwandans with identity cards of either Tutsi and Hutu. Those who were made Tutsi were so if they were typically tall and had slim noses, and others physical features, and especially if they were from households that had more than 10 cows. Those who were made Hutu were so if they had less than 10 cows, or favorably none at all, and if they were short and had wider noses. A film about this particular act from the colonial era called In the Name of God comments saying, at the time many jokingly called this nose politics. Thus, it is apparent that being a Tutsi or a Hutu from 1926 had political significance, and as has been well documented, the political aspects often were a contentious nature. Indeed, from those times wars between the two sides sprang up, where, as in all Rwanda's centuries before then, not even one war or battle is recorded between the so-called Hutu and the Tutsi. From 1926, a Tutsi or Hutu who carried an identity card stipulating so was permanently so, and so also were the children and grandchildren who were born from those parents. Political parties such as Aprosoma, Parmehutu, and MDR and MRND, which had conducted a coup to overthrow the king of Rwanda and the monarchy in what was called the Hutu manifestation, kept and entrenched Hutu and Tutsi as ethnic groups. That continued for some 35 years, from 1959 to 1994. Hence traces of presumptions of why something Tutsi and Hutu are ethnic groups even today. After 1994 and the genocide against the Tutsi, a new government took over and abolished those identity cards which had been among Rwandans since 1926. The new governing party, known as the Rwandan Patriotic Front, abolished the old and extremely contentious ID cards stipulating Tutsi and Hutu, replacing them with ones stipulating just Rwandan on them until this day. As Mr. Kayumba Isidore has written in his book, Rwandans were all identified as Rwandans in the days of the kingdom, without ethnic divisions of Tutsi and Hutu. Asking Rwandans on the street today about how to tell a Tutsi from a Hutu, some say it is impossible, and others say you look at the physical features. With those who talk of physical features as a basis, contradictions are found where one may be called Tutsi based on height or facial feature, yet the same denies it, saying his parents had Hutu ID cards before 1994, or another called Hutu based on how they look, and the same too denies it because his parents were killed for being Tutsi in 1994. So it is clear that physical features are not a credible means of identifying a Tutsi from a Hutu, since it seems to be the only way. Furthermore, that is a colonial and foreign process which is contradictory to the indigenous narrative or knowledge pertaining to the pre-colonial era of what a Tutsi or Hutu was. Another laughable theory that was found from conversations with some youth is that in all nations there can be found Tutsi and Hutu when looking at physical features as Rwandans. Certain youth, when asked, made the remarks that they thought President Donald Trump is a Hutu following his physical features. And others, like Paris Hilton, a famous French model, was Tutsi. Such a theory may be obviously laughable and ridiculous, but interestingly enough, in America, the word Tutsi, pronounced Tutsi, means an attractive person. These theories are significant in exposing how confusing Tutsi and Hutu identification is to many people. This latter theory is even stretched to morals, or how a person acts according to another individual met in Kigali. But again, that is opinion and is not in line with the original and ancient definition of what a Tutsi or Hutu was when kings ruled in Rwanda, not according to colonial documentations. For a Tutsi was a name given to an honored Rwandan through some acts, despite what the physical features, and a Hutu was any Rwandan who served another as maids and butlers do in today's sense, despite what they looked like, according to Rwandan history books and historians, such as that written by Mr. Kayumba Isidore. Today, when Rwandans from abroad are asked whether they are Tutsi or Hutu, the answer may depend on the psychology of that Rwandan. Dr. Kabera from South Africa has testified, saying he simply replies, "I'm Rwandan," and dismisses or explains the root of those words. But since some have been without Rwanda since 1994 or before then, it should not be a surprise if some say they are either the one or the other. By Gahindiro Gustave.